All right. Well, welcome everyone to SOC Presents Breaking Through Conversations on Equity and Inclusion Across Media. My name is Matt Seklecki. I'm the event planning manager for SOC. And this event is our third in this series, sponsored by the School of Communication. Please do visit our YouTube channel for the recordings of the first two events. Just a couple reminders before we get started. We are recording this so that folks who couldn't be with us tonight can watch it later. Closed captioning is available. We do ask that you keep yourselves muted until we get to the audience Q&A portion of the event. And so we'll start with a moderated conversation between our panelists, and then we'll open it up to audience Q&A, and then end the event with the opportunity for a little networking with our panelists. And so I really like to thank our panelists for being here tonight. And a special thanks to Isis Amusa, who is my student assistant helping with this event series, as well as the rest of the communication and outreach team at the School of Communication. And now I'd like to introduce our moderator for the evening, Felicia Parks. Felicia, as a seasoned career advisor for the School of Communication, enjoys coaching students through resume critiques, interviewing, salary negotiation, writing cover letters for internships and full-time employment, and during advising sessions with students studying public communication or journalism. And she shares her real-life experience of writing press releases, creating strategic public relations campaigns, and developing on-air scripts for various radio and television broadcasts. Felicia launched her career with Electronic Data Systems Public Relations Group and advanced within the company, serving as EDS's Office of Government Affairs representative and ultimately National Campus Relations and Staffing Team Supervisor. Additionally, she provided communication strategies to local county campaigns, multi-state engineering competitions, several inner-city youth groups, and an alumni association dedicated to providing scholarship and networking opportunities to college students. And before joining the Career Center SOC team, Felicia advised Kogod business students. And so I'll ask Felicia to take it from here.
Oh, thank you, Matt, and good evening, everyone. As Matt indicated, I'm the career advisor for the School of Communication, and I have additional roles such as being a co-advisor for our NABJ chapter at American University and proudly serving as a judge for the Salute to Excellence Awards for our national chapter of NABJ. So in addition to my background in PR and journalism, I've also worked in various recruiting roles, which included diversity and inclusive. So I'm thrilled to moderate tonight's conversation and learn more about diversity and inclusion within the field of media. So now I'll introduce our esteemed panelists, starting with Natalie Edwards, the Chief Diversity Officer at National Grid. Before joining National Grid in 2021, Natalie served as Global Executive Director of Inclusion and Diversity for the Estee Lauder Companies, where she led inclusion strategy and operations for the company's 45,000 employees and 25 plus prestige cosmetic, skincare, fragrance, and hair care brands in the 150 countries their products are sold. Natalie joined Estee Lauder in May of 2018 after graduating with her MBA from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania with a dual concentration in business analytics and operations. While at Wharton, Natalie was served as the Graduate Association Vice President of Diversity, one of the only student members appointed by the Dean to serve on the Diversity Strategy and Policy Task Force. In that role, Natalie helped draft and execute the school's first official diversity strategy, advising the school's leadership, which resulted in doubling the MBA Black student population in 1 year to a school record high. Natalie was recognized for her work in diversifying higher business education by being named to Poets and Quants Best and Brightest MBAs list, profiling the top 100 MBAs, and was one of 3 Wharton's MBAs featured out of her class of 850. Natalie is a proud alumni of Howard University, where she earned a bachelor's in finance and was named Bisonette, which is the Female Graduate of the Year. The daughter of 2 Jamaican immigrants and a Texan at heart, Natalie lives in New Jersey with her husband and her Greyhound rescue puppy, Grace. Thank you for being on board here tonight, Natalie. I'd like to move over to Ted Kim, the Director of Early Career Journalism Strategy and Recruiting for the New York Times. Ted oversees early career programs in the newsroom and helped conceive and create the Times Fellowship. Ted previously worked on training and strategy with digital story forums and was an assistant editor helping shepherd the nightly report on its digital platforms. The Times is his sixth newsroom because Ted has previously worked as a mobile editor of the Washington Post and worked as a reporter in Texas, Indiana, and the state of Maryland. Ted has covered 3 governors as well as beats ranging from air travel to suburban growth. Ted has a bachelor's in English and communications from Boston College and a master's in journalism from American University, and was a former national board member for the Asian American Journalists Association. Welcome, Ted. Now, USDA Branch Chief, Office of Diversity and Inclusion by day and filmmaker by passion, Shalya Racquel is the quintessential creative, born and raised in South Carolina, but living in Washington, D.C. Diagnosed with sickle cell disease at birth and having a stroke at the young age of 12, Shalya's childhood battle with the disease is what brought her closer to the art of storytelling and the love of filmmaking. Over the course of Shalya's career, her work has been selected in over 40 films and has won 20 awards to date, including a Student Emmy from the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences National Capital Chapter. After receiving an award from Sony in collaboration with American University, her project, Riverment, a short film about a grandmother and granddaughter's cross-generational approaches to activism, was acquired by Magic Johnson's Aspire TV, Fox streaming platform Tubi, and Sean P. Diddy Combs' Revolt TV. Racquel was recently interviewed by Biblical Fox on her work for Fox show, The Screening Room. Shalya's work has been highlighted by Shadow and OK, Player, and IndieWire, to name a few. Her storytelling capabilities have been featured by the Washington Post, Facebook, as well as Vibe magazine. Shalya's felicity, smile, and appreciation for life brightens the room, and you will know Shalya Racquel when she greets you with smiles bring sunshine to the soul. Let's welcome each of our panelists and begin our questions for this evening. All right. Amazing, amazing group. Each of you have amazing backgrounds in diversity and inclusion. And so we're curious as to what distinguishes true equity from just diversity in media. And most importantly, how have you seen this play out in your careers? If possible, I'd like to start with Natalie, based on your work in cosmetics and now with National Grid, the world's largest utilities focus on delivering energy.
Thank you so much, Felicia, and thanks to everyone, for my fellow panelists and everyone who's listening. I'm so excited to be here. I did not have the honor of going to AU, but I did live in DC for 8 years, and I feel like I count in that consortium of DC universities and alumni, so for life. So I'm so glad to be here. To answer your question, Felicia, to me, I mean, it sounds really simplified, but you know, my grandmother always used to say, you can't address what you don't acknowledge. And so for me, and she never went to college. She, started working very young when she was in Jamaica. So it's amazing how, sometimes that wisdom trickles down. But to me, answering the question between diversity and equity relies on that, right? Diversity is simply, how do you move forward, right? How do you make sure there's diverse perspectives and different perspectives around you? How do you recruit and bring in more unique perspectives that aren't already where you are? To me, equity is looking backwards as well as doing that forward work. So, diversity, and I hate to say it's easy because I do the work and therefore I know how hard it can be behind the scenes to actually drive that change. But, I like to say anyone can put in place a diversity program. Real courage and real leadership means admitting that before day one of this program, we weren't doing this. Right? That humility. And so that equity piece is being willing to admit, you know what, for a very long time, quite frankly, too long, we weren't thinking from a diversity perspective, and we will do better. So to me, the difference between diversity and equity isn't just the programming, it's also the acknowledgement. So you can address it and move forward.
That acknowledgement is so key. And it sounds like your grandmother was definitely a very wise woman. Thank you so much, Natalie, for sharing that. Ted, after working in 6 different newsrooms, would you like to weigh in on this?
I think Natalie is exactly right. The Times is just one of many media companies and newsrooms in particular that is created a process to really look at diversity, equity, and inclusion. For the Times in particular, we're actually pretty good at diversity now. We're you know, from a recruiting standpoint, we are less good, I think, at equity and inclusion. And I think that those two things, particularly inclusion, really difficult. And that's like a, you know, a multi-year, I would say, effort. How do you make a newsroom, a place, you know, a workplace feel welcoming to everybody? And that's something that we are going through right now. And I'm very hopeful. I think that there is a real understanding of how it takes mind, body, and soul really to change a culture of a place. It is not just a plan, or you're not hitting goals or just targets, you know, every few months. You have to live and breathe it in the way that, like, you know, we live and breathe facts, or like we check and, you know, whether a name is spelled right. Like, we have to have that same focus and energy in diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so that's kind of what I see. I see corporate society grappling now with equity, and especially that last one, inclusion. And I think that once you get that inclusion down, everything else starts to kind of fall into place.
Wow, thank you for that information. Evolution is always continuing. Shalya, you've produced a lot of films, but you're also balancing a second role as the USDA's branch chief for Office of Diversity and Inclusion. How have you navigated these barriers when you encounter them?
Wow, how do we navigate barriers when we encounter them? Well, first I want to say thank you for having me on this panel with Natalie and Ted. I am an American University student, so just coming back home and being able to just be a part of this means so much. But when you say how do we handle barriers when we encounter them, when it comes to like being a branch chief of diversity and inclusion for the USDA, one of the things, and I'm going to piggyback off of Natalie, she stated doing the work. And we have to look at what doing the work entails, and doing the work entails mitigating barriers. So identifying what those barriers are that are stopping underrepresented and misrepresented groups from fully being able to matriculate through the employment life cycle of media, and then doing the work to actually mitigate those barriers. So when it comes to me and like the barriers I may face, Natalie had said earlier, but we weren't on this call, like social economic things, those are different types of barriers we have faced. Moving to like the filmmaking side of the brain, I am not a production company. I am a lone soldier freelance filmmaker. So when I am approached by, for instance, recently, I was approached by the Phillips Collection, who wanted a documentary done for their centennial. They wanted a 12-minute professional documentary, and they were interviewing different full production companies with full staff and asking for being willing to give full budgets to that. And instead, they saw my pitch, they saw my heart in the story and my background and how it fit with the story that they were trying to tell. And despite my socioeconomic status and not having all of the resources that a full production company in DC may have, they entrusted me in that, gave me the budget in order to rectify, that's equity, rectifying those barriers there. They allowed me to showcase that I was able to do that. So I think just those different ways, like actually identifying, doing the investigative work, identifying the barriers there, and then doing the work in order to mitigate them. I think that is the way we all should just go about approaching equity, achieving equity.
Yeah, congratulations on that, Shalya. And some of the challenges that we face is not knowing who to reach out to or what questions to ask when there is an equity, whether it's about race or culture, or as you say, with economics. So leading to so many things that are happening in today's news and even with yesterday's conviction, I'm kind of curious, how has the recent national grappling with race, particularly, anti-Black and anti-Asian racism, affected how media operates or maybe how you operate with your diversity and inclusion, has it affected how you all navigate your stories within media or your audience? And anyone can feel free to jump in.
Well, I can say a little bit about that because I know a lot of the work that I've done, it does have something to do with what is occurring. Rivermint was a story about two generations having a conversation about activism. And what I think is that, well, first I want to highlight that it may be a recent grappling, but what is happening in the world is not new. This has been going on since the beginning of time. And now we have devices in place where we're able to see it in real time and we can't get away from it. It's playing over and over. And that in itself is a piece of media, like that is media. So I think media is playing a huge part in getting everyone to understand that this is happening. These people are humans. We are humans. There's a humanizing factor, and we need to actually act on it. We need to do something about it. That's something that I think is important. And as far as like how I've been navigating the space in media, I think as artists, we and I think Zora Neale Hurston, I'm probably not quoting this right, but we have a purpose when it comes to being artists. And our purpose has a little bit to do with activism in a sense, because we are basically being a voice, even though we shouldn't be, because no community is a monolith. We are voices of our community. So that's one of the ways that we've been grappling with this, is using media, using films, using music in order to really showcase to the world what is occurring in these communities and what things we could do or put in place in order to change what is happening.
Really good points. Did anyone want to add to that, or maybe talk about what you feel as though the media or industry needs to do to improve?
Well, I'll just say about, the Atlanta shootings in the massage parlors was just a great exercise of why newsroom diversity is so important. If you kind of looked at that story on its face, it was, 8 people shot and killed, the culprit caught, and he's stating, some reason that the police are giving for why, these 8 people are dead. But we have a really savvy national desk led by Jia-Lin Yang, who is, she worked at the Washington Post. I've known her for years. She's just fantastic. And she was already asking immediately, like, this is really nuanced. You have, what the police are saying, but then you have the fact that most of these people are Asian women. Some might be undocumented. You have the fact that maybe they're engaged in a particular occupation that some people object to, particularly in the Christian faith. So there's like all of this floating in the stew, and just her leadership and her leadership team and the leadership team of the company in the newsroom. Just again, it kind of demonstrated why it is important to have different perspectives at the table, because we can't deliver that kind of coverage without diversity of thought. My boss, Carolyn Ryan, who's the #3 in the Times newsroom, who's a fantastic mentor to me, but she always says, that Times covers the world, and we can't do that well if we all look the same. And I feel like that was really on display.
Thank you so much, Ted. That's really important. And we need that type of support and understanding of everyone's background to be more supportive in all our roles. And so, Natalie, I'd love to circle back with you. I call myself a professional stalker or lifetime journalist. So I was going across your Instagram page, and it was interesting how you mentioned that diversity and inclusion is very heavy these days, and you recommended different steps to disconnect, think locally, seek joy, and get rest. And we know that this is especially true after yesterday's conviction of Chauvin. So I'm kind of curious, in your role as diversity chief officer and with National Grid, what are some of the steps that you've been doing internally to ensure leadership is aware of things that you can do as far as voicing some of these changes, or what are significant issues of racism and equity?
Yeah, great question. And no worry, no shame about professional stalking at all. It's fine. So yes, Felicia, in addition to my day job of being Chief Diversity Officer, which I, personally, the way I kind of dictate my purpose in diversity work is to tell the truth, inspire action, and make sure everyone, no matter what they look like, can have a fulfilling career in life. That's kind of my mission statement in my work. And therefore, kind of on the side as well, it's like an extension on social media. So that way I'm also empowering that mission for people that don't work at the company I'm at. And so I'm always sharing that. But I'm so thankful that you brought that up, because I think sometimes there is a underappreciation for the emotional toll of this work, especially these days. And we all look to leadership, we all look to the diversity office. And I say that we, because I used to be, I've always been a Black woman, but a Black woman employee that didn't work in diversity. So I used to be that employee that was looking up, like, what's the company going to do? And I didn't have full appreciation until I was actually doing the work and rolling up my sleeves of just how much self-care is needed in this work, how much, quite frankly, making sure mental health is good. Because if you think about it, we're, people that are working in diversity and also people that lead employee resource groups, right, are dealing with heavy stuff. Racism is not enjoyable. Neither is talking about it for anyone, especially people that live through it every day, coming to work and then also teaching about it, right? It's not peaches and roses to inspire change. And so for me, I think it's so important to have those conversations and to be human about it. I just started at my new company just a few months ago, and in the middle of, last week when we were preparing, when we expected George Floyd's murder trial to be coming to a conclusion, I had a touch base with one of the senior leaders, and a normal, touch base, how you doing, what you're working on. And I paused for a minute and I kind of asked myself the question, am I going to be real in this conversation, right? And I've always been real with them about the work, but I hadn't always been real about me. And you know what, this is handled, but this is really hard for me to digest right now. My family is not doing very well with this news. George Floyd's murder has taken a toll on a lot of my community. And, I'm just going to take a walk for 30 minutes and I'll be back, right? Like, I don't think a lot of people recognize that they have the opportunity to do that. And I just want to make sure to tell everybody here, take the time you need to heal, take the time even for 5 minutes to disconnect, because so many of us, when we're not on Zoom or in our emails, we're on this, right? On social media, taking in the videos, taking in the commentary. And so we're never, or if we're not on this, we're watching TV on the news, so we have to make sure we give our minds a break as well, especially if you are of the population of which this oppression affects, right, in that moment. And so, again, another quote from my grandma, you can't pour from an empty cup. And the time to get gas is not when you're on E. So make sure you do it in advance. So that way, when there is a crisis, you don't have to start from no energy and find energy that you've already invested in yourself.
We're going to need a list of grandma's quotes, because I think
she must
we
be
can all live by them. I think it's amazing. You bring up a lot of great points, Natalie, and really appreciate that. So while honoring, your identities and the way global events affect, everyone, there's also a crucial balance between being objective and maintaining your own values. I'm sorry, got a little tongue-tied. So I'm kind of curious, how do you practice self-care when you have a fast-paced production schedule? And if Ted or Shalya wanted to respond.
Go ahead, Shalya.
Wow, how do I practice self-care in a fast pace, which is funny, right? Because I just told you I'm literally in the middle of a film set. So how do you practice? So I probably am not right now, but one of the things is time management is so important. And when I say time management, I don't mean just putting things on calendars and making sure, I mean actually putting in time to just reflect, go outside, take in fresh air, and having that as like a calendar piece that says no one, when it comes to my day job, I put unavailable. So especially in this virtual space where everyone feels like everyone is accessible 24/7, which is not true and it's not healthy. So one of the things I have started to practice, I definitely meditate every morning. I drink me a cup of lemon ginger tea every morning, but I just also just make sure I have places in my schedule where no one is allowed to contact me. I am just marked unavailable, where I can just sit, reflect, be in my thoughts, get myself together, do things that is only for me, so that I can, because I cannot, as Natalie said, you cannot pour from empty cup. And Natalie grandmother just said. So, and it's the same. You can't keep giving and giving and giving, especially in this line of work, both lines, film production and working in diversity. You can't just keep giving and giving and giving. It's going to take so much out of you, and you're going to be depleted. And then there's nothing, even though we all pride ourselves in this, being in this line of work, because we feel like we're making a difference, even if it's a small difference, we feel like we're making a difference in the world. You can't continue to do that and be the superhero that you are if you don't have anything left to give for yourself. So practicing that, putting those calendar invites to myself where it's just for me, and then using those like time management skills, those are ways that I practice self-care.
Wow. Thank you. Really good tips. I love that unavailable. I think I should block that out, both professional calendars and personal calendars.
You don't have to say what you're doing.
Just unavailable. That's a good point.
I love the quote. Sorry,
Sure.
but I saw a quote on Instagram the other day, Felicia, that literally said, free is not the same thing as available. And
oh, okay.
Just because you don't have something to do at that moment doesn't mean you are available. So you have to protect your time.
That's a good point, because people will ask you all day is, quick message, are you available to chat now? That'll be important. So Ted, I didn't know if you wanted to answer that question about, self-care, or maybe kind of turn the tables a little bit and talk about how the New York Times uses their hiring practices to make sure they are utilizing diversity recruiting practices.
Yeah, I mean, two little different things there. I mean, just real quick on self-care, it's really important in journalism. As you might have seen, it's been busy in news for like 3.5 years, or 4.5 years, right? Since 2016, it's been really, really busy, and it hasn't let up. And some of our journalists are really burned out. In fact, the company just announced today that the Times newsroom is taking 3 global days off this year, the first one in May. And this is just a recognition of like what a grind it's been. So I absolutely believe that, both what Natalie and Shalya had said, just from a journalism standpoint, we cover life in the world, and we can't be at our best selves, and we can't experience the world if we're not experiencing the world. So that's really important. In terms of the question about diversity, it is becoming, I would say, we're getting there, but it is becoming really hard baked in almost any hiring decision we make. It is part of our interview panels, part of our, what we look for. It seeps into the questions we ask. We try to ask the same questions to everybody. We try to compensate for our own views about how somebody looks, or what their background might be. For the fellowship in particular, the fellowship program is our flagship kind of early career program in the newsroom. It's very popular. Obviously, journalists from around the world want to work at the New York Times, and we get people from all over and all backgrounds, and it's incumbent upon me and others to try to understand what everyone is bringing to the table relative to the opportunities that they're given. I think that's really important. If we were only grading people based on, you know, what they've done, regardless of opportunity, we're not doing our job, and we're not creating the best newsroom that we could create. So we take that very seriously, and you know, we're not perfect, but we're getting there. And you know, this year's fellowship is we're really proud of. You know, 3/4 of the 35 people in the fellowship are journalists of color. That is amazing. And these are people that are going to be working full-time in the newsroom in 20 different departments. So they will have a material impact on the news that you're reading. So a step in the right direction, and you know, as we continue to try to get to where we want to go.
And congratulations, 3/4 of the people going throughout the New York Times through the fellowship. That has to be something that feels really amazing. So a great accomplishment with you and your team. I guess continuing on the lines of partially recruiting, each of you have had a different journey into getting to the roles that you currently hold. I know that at some point we'll get some questions in the chat. So while we're waiting for those, I'm kind of curious as to, you know, what would you tell your college self in terms of finding the job and finding this career path that would be important?
I'll go first, I guess. So I kind of had an unconventional journey. In fact, when I got into diversity work, it was one of those situations where when I looked in hindsight, it was 2020, but at the time looking forward, I had no idea that was coming. So I got my degree in finance. I wanted to go to law school, but I was very mindful that if for whatever reason that couldn't happen, I still wanted to have some employment options in business. So I did finance. Then I went into consulting, where I focused on HR consulting and strategy in actually the federal government. My office was in Roslyn. After that, I went to business school and I got my MBA. And for those interested in that, I highly recommend it. Because I think it teaches you how to think at a higher level and to solve problems very well and lead people and lead organizations. And so that really was interesting for me. And as my bio read, when I was there, I also, again, didn't even know that there was such thing as diversity work. That wasn't a career back then. But when I was in school, I looked to my left and I looked to my right, and, you know, sorry if this isn't appropriate, but I said, where are all the Black people? And I decided to do something about that. And that work kind of grew and grew and grew. And I wasn't getting paid for that. I was volunteering. I was helping the leadership of my school make changes based off of my experience and my perspective and my ideas. And then this is key. I was willing to also do the work after I said the idea that I wanted to happen. I didn't just go in there and say, you should do this, this, and this. You know, I said, you should do this, this, and this, and I'm happy to help lead that. And so before I even knew it, I was kind of building a diversity career resume without even knowing that was a thing. And then I launched my career fully when an opportunity came my way, because somebody heard from somebody else, from someone else, what I had done at the school that I was at. So for me, my advice to you would be to believe in yourself, but also pay a lot of attention to the work that you're drawn to do for free, because usually that's a really big sign that you enjoy that work. It's rewarding to you. And I always tell everybody, if you do it for free, then it's going to be even sweeter when they pay you to do it. So there's no paycheck that's going to make you enjoy what you do. So at the end of the day, make sure you're paying attention to the things you're drawn to, even when you're busy. Pay attention to the things you do nights and weekends with a smile on your face, because if there's a way you can build skills there and create a job from that, you'll do really well once you're actually in that role. So that's my advice.
And that's great advice, being drawn to the things that make you happy at the end of the day and not the dollar amount. And they're hearing it from you as well. So Shalya looks like she may want to add to that, because she had a lot of head nodding going there, like in agreement. So Shalya, did you want to add to your journey and what you would tell your college self?
No, I agree with Natalie. I had an unconditional way into both of my careers. So I have two. I'm a filmmaker and I work diversity. And I always say my 9 to 5 pays for my 5 to 9 until my 5 to 9 can be my 9 to 5. So that's how I've been
Oh, wow.
in all the space. And it's interesting because working in diversity, you become an amazing storyteller because your entire job is humanizing people, showing that people are complex characters. So I get the practice in my storytelling ability in both. So, and I had an interesting way into both. I've loved filmmaking since I was 12 years old. That was always a part of like the journey. But as far as like working for USDA, I started as an intern straight out of undergrad. I was working desktop support. I hated it. Hated desktop support. Talked with the boss, said, hey, I love film. Is there anything I can do? She said, no, but there's video teleconference engineering. And I was like, okay, now I got camera work in. My day job is now working, doing cameras, lighting, and doing video teleconference. Hindsight 2020, now we're in Zoom, right? Okay. And so, and then from there, I remember in like 2014, 2015, and that's when that rise happened. It was the Trayvon and Michael Brown murders that occurred. I told myself, okay, I need to do something for my salary job that makes me feel like I'm making a difference in the world. So I started volunteering for our Office of Civil Rights, Diversity, and Inclusion, and I loved it. They used me as a voice, as showing for outreach and recruitment, especially for students. At HBCU campuses and so on and so forth. And then once they offered a job, I took it and became a diversity program manager and just matriculated over the next 4 years and into the branch chief role. And so what I would tell myself, because I just named like 7 different careers, and one is don't be afraid to make any of the leaps that you want to make. If you want to do it, you can truly do it all. So if you want to do it, go for it. And you're not resetting yourself. You're not setting yourself back. You have the community, you have the support system. Make the leaps, make the bounds, and just go for it. That's something I would just keep reminding myself over and over.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ted, did you want to add to your journey and what you would tell your college self?
Well, gosh, I mean, such great advice so far. I guess, for me, I was so focused on the work, especially in journalism. You're just drowning, and like the news never stops. It never, you can never turn it off. And even in my early jobs, when I was younger, I was covering Montgomery County, Maryland, right? And even in a county like that, it's not New York City. There's still a lot going on, right? Over, almost 1 million people, stuff all the time. And you could just work forever. And so I ended up spending 300% of my time on like the work at hand, and probably 0.00001% of my time like making relationships and thinking about career development and kind of sketching out what I wanted to be and where I wanted to go. And I had this vague notion that I wanted to work at a big fancy newsroom, and but like no path to get there, no thought that of making connections, not transactional connections, but making friends in the business, so I could understand the terrain a little better, so that I could understand, get a sense of where the opportunities are, how I could grow my career, what kind of intermediate steps I could get along the way. And it wasn't until much later in life that I kind of started to learn how important and how fun it is to meet new people. So if I could go back to my, college, to my AU self, I would say, Ted, dial down the 300%, maybe make it, 70%, but you want to spend like a significant amount of time thinking about, well, what do you want to do, and how might you get there, and meeting people because it's fun, and making new friends because it's fun. And that's really how a career is made. And I can't stress enough, particularly I would say even if I could be so bold, in the Asian American community. I feel like so many people are focused specifically on the work right in front of them. And that's important, but it's also important, to create a community for yourself.
Great advice from all three of our panelists, sharing that what they were passionate about when they were younger, or what they were drawn to, or even pursuing relationships is what was key to them being successful today in their journey. We actually have a comment/question so far in the chat room from Amanda. She wanted to thank you for being here, and she really appreciates you taking time to be here tonight. So Amanda's wondering, what is something related to diversity and inclusion in the workplace that you see either as an emerging trend or an issue that is often overlooked by companies?
I'll go. I would say two things. I know the answer was one, sorry, but I couldn't pick one. The first thing I would say that I'm seeing definitely start to get the credit and the conversation it deserves, disability. I think in many companies, and justify, these are important topics as well, but the conversation around diversity has largely been around gender. So how do we get more women in the organizations, or also race, right? So how do we get more people of color? And I think the pandemic has really opened a lot of companies' eyes to what people deal with mentally, physically, if they have to care for somebody else, if they have kids, if they have an elderly parent, and those aren't disability. I'm just saying that I think many of us, human nature, before in the workplace, saw an employee as an employee. What is the work that they're doing? They're nice, their leadership potential. We see their strengths and weaknesses, but we don't see what they're dealing with. And I think the pandemic was, in a way, a great equalizer, because everyone had to deal with it. This did not discriminate. It hit a lot of communities a little harder than others, but it was a concern for everyone, right? It's not like some of your company were still going to work and some others were at home. Everybody was at home for the most part, unless you had to be there physically to do something with your hands. And so I think that's been I hope that's not a trend that comes and goes. I hope it's here to stay, where we're truly supporting people's full selves and situations, not just the work they can do for the company, but who they are and what they bring to work because of their at-home situation. And then secondly, this isn't a trend. I really truly hope it's here to stay. But again, like I said before, it's been a huge conversation when we talk about diversity at companies. Usually people start and stop the conversation at recruiting, right? Who are we hiring this year? What percentage of our interns are people of color? What percentage of our incoming hires are women, or whatever the group we want to increase is. And one thing that I hope is here to stay is the phase 2 conversation, which is not just who are we bringing in, but who are we moving up? Because there's a lot of places where you can work for 20 years, but if you never get promoted, the company has retained you, but have you been elevated? Have you been exposed to new skills? Are you seen as someone worthy of investment and stretch opportunities and special projects? So I think that's kind of the phase 2, or dare I even say 3, if you think about bringing you in, keeping you here, and also moving you up. That's the third step that I'm hoping sticks around, because that matters a lot as well.
All good trends to pay attention to. Especially with the mover and shakers we have coming into their career, the workforce now. So did anyone else have any comments to what do they see as an emerging trend or an issue that is often overlooked by companies?
Yes, I do. And this is something that's related to the DEI space that I see. I'm going to take it from the other side, an issue that I think is often overlooked by companies. I'm going to talk from a media standpoint. And this goes back to your earlier question, Felicia, about how can media work to more accurately explain the significance of issues of racism and equity. As we're having these conversations within the media, I think it's important to allow those from the community to volunteer to take lead in those conversations, but it must be a volunteer. Do not force people from those communities to lead those conversations. If they're not comfortable, if they're grieving, if they're having issues with them, allow it to be on a volunteer basis. Don't solely rely on their voices. Allyship is very important. There needs to be a balance there, but just definitely don't force people to lead those conversations as well. So, and my last point is don't only tap them for racial discussion or inequity discussions only. We see that a lot in companies, especially with this new microscope, is that you only see that face whenever it is about that community. But whenever, as Natalie talked about, upward mobility, whenever it's a bigger story or stories that may not necessarily have to do with that community, you may not ever see that face again. That is a huge no-no. That is an issue that companies may be thinking they're doing the right thing, but it's actually more harmful than good. So those are some of the things that I think people need to look at that relates to the DEI space.
And there are quite a few companies that are using groups to say, if you want to share within this space, you can, and then here's some support. And hopefully more messages are coming from leadership down to the rest of the teams to say, here's how we're supporting you and understanding what you're grappling with and how can we be of help. So definitely some changes is coming along. With the New York Times there, Ted Kim, any trends that you see?
No, I mean, I think that Shalya and Natalie had hit it, and focus on disability is a big one. Focus on career development, particularly career development among journalists of color. Kind of that, as Natalie, I think, was articulating this idea of like, how do we get someone from a senior editor into a department head, and then how do we get that department head into a masthead level role where you are kind of overseeing tranches of coverage within the newsroom, and you're in charge of hiring. And I think that those are all really important conversations happening. They're happening at the Times. We just started a disability ERG. We just launched a disability journalism fellowship. This person's going to be nesting in our national desk, writing specifically stories about disabilities across the country. One thing that is not necessarily directly related to DEI, but also throw into this kind of bucket, is obviously remote work has really, kind of work patterns have changed so much. And one thing that we're seeing at the Times is we have to give people a reason to come back to the office. It's clear that society runs without those big office towers. I mean, the New York Times is one of the biggest symbols of this. Times Square was named after the New York Times, and we have a big skyscraper right in Times Square. Do we need that? It's empty right now. When the New York Times is still putting out award-winning journalism, and so it's really kind of this idea of like, what should office culture be? I think DEI is part of that, but should we be in the office? How often? What reason should we be there? I think those are all really, a lot of companies are talking about those right now.
Thank you. All good points. There are a lot of fears for some people returning back into an office environment, not just because of the pandemic, but because of all the diversity, equity, and inclusion challenges that they've been facing with, and some of the ones that have actually kind of expanded. In some of our previous sessions, we've also addressed, or the question was posed about, how do you actually deal with microaggression, and how you address it with leadership? Has that been your experience in any of your roles, and what do you do to ensure your
One of my favorite techniques that I like teaching when you encounter a microaggression, which if you don't know, I'm just playing devil's advocate for those that don't know what that means. It's simply things that make other people feel other, that are sometimes very subtle and usually actually unintentional. but yet they still have that impact and they need to be addressed. A technique that I love teaching when you encounter a microaggression against yourself, or you just witness one against someone else, is I notice, I wonder. So, you know, I notice you think that candidate isn't a good fit. I wonder what's that's based on. I notice you think that I've noticed that you mentioned that I was aggressive in my performance review. I wonder what I did specifically to lead to that. Or, you know, so just putting it on the table as facts, like what you're noticing and also what can come out of it, usually helps the other person on the other side of the microaggression realize the impact of what they did. And it invites them into the conversation so something positive and constructive can come out of it. I think so many of us don't address microaggressions because we're so stunned, or we also fear that if we call it out, the other person will shut down because they'll feel that we're calling them a racist. And so I find that I notice, I wonder, has been really transformational and a great thing, an easy thing to remember, to just call it out when you see it.
That's really smart, Natalie.
So one of the things I definitely wanted to make sure that we said to each one of you is that you've done an amazing job this evening sharing your history, your involvement with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and giving great tips. So before we close for this evening, I didn't know if you had any parting tips, but again, we thank you so much for taking up your time. That I know it's a busy evening for everyone, and Shayla's balancing her production and being online tonight. So really appreciate all of you all doing this. But if you had any parting words of advice for our participants.
I'll just say to play the long game. You know, I know that everyone's thinking short term, and totally understandably, everyone, you know, wants to, you know, needs to make a living, needs to know where they're going to go next, and, you know, they want stability in their lives. I've found that the biggest rewards, though, they often take patience, they take time, they take a lot of planning, and you know, so I encourage you, like, every step that you're taking, think about the 5-year plan and like what's behind that step. You know, the greatest example is this young woman that we've been mentoring, Christina Morales, been mentoring for 3 years. I met her at the National Association of Hispanic Journalists, and she was, you know, a young journalist at the University of Florida, didn't have enough experience, but over, you know, time, she interned at the Sarasota paper. Then she went all the way out to the Pacific Northwest and, you know, interned there. She came back, she interned at the Miami Herald. She became the editor-in-chief of her paper, you know, on campus. She was ready, you know, and it took a long, you know, it was a several year process, but she's now in the fellowship and she's emerged as one of the best young Latinx journalists in the country. And now she's getting job offers like left and right. That is playing the long game. And the question is, do we have the patience and, you know, kind of the will to play a game that long, you know, to get the really big prizes?
Great points. Thanks, Ted. Then
Next, Shayla is also always good with the last word. And P.S. Ted, I learned so much from you today. But I just have to say, I was like blown away that Times Square is named after the New York Times. I must have been the only person on the planet that didn't know that. But I was just like, whoa.
Does quick trivia, does anyone know what the original Times Square name was? Longacre Square. That's the first thing they teach you when you come to the Times. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, Times Square definitely has a better ring to it. What I would say as my parting piece of advice is, it sounds cheesy, but remember that you are the magic. I think so often, particularly people of color or underrepresented people, you know, sometimes also children of immigrants like myself, it's very easy to buy into the fact that, you know, if only I acclimate, if only I bend and mold myself to be a certain way, I can be successful and make it. right? And I just want to remind you that you are the magic. And, you know, a mentor once told me, not my grandma, a mentor told me that, you know, you can either view yourself as different or you can view yourself as unique. And the choice is yours. And so often, I speak for myself, but I don't know if anyone in the audience can relate. We're in spaces where we feel different, like, oh my God, there's only one of me here. And when I have to remind myself is, wait, there's only one of me here, which means I'm valuable. I bring something to the table that no one else is going to notice. And we have to remind ourselves that of the billions of people on the planet, there's no one else who's lived a life exactly like yours. There is no one else that has the same context on things that you do. There's no one else that has the same experiences, the same histories, the same viewpoints in the exact same way. And so don't consume yourself with fitting in so much. Yes, there's cultures of where you work, and yes, there are ways to do things, but never forget that, you know, the same way all of us, you know, if Shayla is a filmmaker, all of us can go to the exact same movie and notice different things about the movie, even though we were all shown the same thing. So the same way the world is, you know, we all can see the same events, we can all experience the same big things and have a different experience of them. So don't be afraid to go into the place that you'll future work, go into the place that you'll rise through the ranks, because you have the choice of whether you see yourself as different or unique. So don't forget, you're the magic.
Thank you, Natalie. And Shayla, closing us out.
Thank you. And now the spotlight, so it's just, it makes me feel so. Natalie and Theodore just made some excellent points. So I think I would just close it out with, your joy matters and your joy is revolutionary. And in order for you to do the work, and that work is whether you want to work in the DEI space, whether you're a student and you're about to matriculate into your career, your joy is very, very important, and you should find that joy, find the things that make you happy. If you're not doing the things that make you happy, as Theodore said, put in a plan in order to get to that space, because you, as Natalie said earlier, you cannot do any work, no matter if it's in the DEI space, no matter if it's in your career, if you are depleted. So your joy matters. Make sure you do things that make you feel joyous, not happy, because happy is fleeting, joyous.
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Matt.
Wow, what a great conversation. I just want to really say thank you to our panelists for you know, being with us tonight and sharing just such a wide range of information with our audience, and special thanks to our audience for your attention. You know, as we close out, I